Have you ever wondered why the human body seems to care so much about sex? It can change your mood, affect your decisions, influence your relationships, and even shape entire societies. People write songs about it, build industries around it, and spend countless hours thinking about it. But here's the interesting part. Your body doesn't actually know what romance is. It doesn't know what dating apps are. It doesn't even know what Valentine's Day is. All it knows is biology. Millions of years of evolution have programmed the human brain with one simple mission: survive long enough to pass on your genes. And because of that, your body has developed one of the most powerful reward systems on Earth. But does that mean humans actually need sex? The answer is more surprising than most people think. Let's start with the biggest misconception. People often say humans need sex the same way they need food, water, or oxygen. That's simply not true. If you stop eating, you'll eventually die. If you stop drinking water, the same thing happens even faster. Without oxygen, you only have minutes. But you can live your entire life without having sex and still be perfectly healthy. Thousands of people do exactly that, whether because of personal choice, religious beliefs, medical conditions, or simply because they never found the right partner. So if sex isn't required for survival, why does it feel so important? Because evolution doesn't just care about keeping you alive. It cares about keeping your species alive. Imagine if eating vegetables felt amazing but reproduction felt boring. Our ancestors probably wouldn't have had many children, and humans might never have become one of the most successful species on Earth. Nature solved this problem in a clever way. Instead of forcing reproduction, it made the process incredibly rewarding. Every time people experience sexual attraction, intimacy, or orgasm, the brain releases chemicals that make the experience feel pleasurable. It's essentially evolution saying, that behavior helps the species continue, so let's reward it. It's one of the oldest biological tricks in existence. And humans aren't the only animals with this system. Birds, mammals, reptiles, and countless other species are all driven by instincts to reproduce. But humans took things much further. Unlike many animals that only mate during certain seasons, humans can experience sexual desire throughout the entire year. That makes us surprisingly unusual. Scientists believe this helped strengthen long-term relationships between parents. Human babies are incredibly dependent. A newborn deer can stand within hours. A human baby can't even hold up its own head. It takes years before a child can survive independently. Because raising children requires such a huge investment, staying together as a family offered a major evolutionary advantage. Sex didn't just help create babies. It also helped keep parents connected long enough to raise them. That's where the brain comes in. During intimacy, your brain becomes one of the busiest organs in your body. It releases dopamine, the same chemical involved in motivation and reward. This creates feelings of excitement and reinforces behaviors the brain wants you to repeat. Then comes oxytocin, often nicknamed the bonding hormone. Oxytocin helps create feelings of trust, closeness, and emotional connection. It's also released when parents hold their babies, when people hug, and even during certain acts of kindness. In many ways, your brain uses the same chemical to build family bonds and romantic relationships. Endorphins join the party as well. These natural chemicals reduce discomfort and promote feelings of relaxation and well-being. That's one reason many people report feeling calmer and less stressed after intimacy. Notice something interesting? None of these brain chemicals are actually trying to make you happy in the long term. They're encouraging behaviors that were useful throughout human evolution. Your brain is rewarding actions that, over thousands of generations, increase the chances of survival and reproduction. And that's why sexual desire can sometimes feel incredibly powerful. It isn't a random emotion. It's the product of millions of years of natural selection. So if sex isn't necessary to stay alive, does it provide any real health benefits? The answer is yes, but probably not in the way social media makes it seem. You've probably seen headlines claiming that sex cures everything from stress to aging. While those claims are often exaggerated, research does show that sexual activity can have several positive effects on both the body and the mind. Let's start with the heart. Sex is a physical activity. Depending on the situation, it can raise your heart rate, increase blood circulation, and burn a modest number of calories. It's certainly not a replacement for going to the gym, but it does get your body moving. Over time, staying physically active in any form contributes to better cardiovascular health. Then there's the immune system. Some studies have found that people who have regular sex may have slightly higher levels of certain antibodies involved in immune defense. However, this doesn't mean sex is some magical shield against getting sick. Good sleep, proper nutrition, exercise, and vaccinations still have a much bigger impact on your overall health. Where sex seems to have one of its strongest effects is in stress relief. Life constantly activates your body's stress response. Work deadlines, financial worries, school exams, even sitting in traffic can trigger the release of cortisol, commonly known as the stress hormone. After intimacy, many people experience a drop in cortisol levels while chemicals like oxytocin and endorphins increase. This combination often creates a sense of relaxation, comfort, and emotional closeness. It's one reason people often say they feel calmer afterward. Sleep can improve as well. Following orgasm, the brain releases hormones that promote relaxation, making it easier for many people to fall asleep. That doesn't mean it's a cure for insomnia, but it can help explain why some people become sleepy afterward. Interestingly, the benefits aren't only physical. Humans are one of the most social species on Earth. Our mental health depends heavily on feeling connected to other people. For couples in healthy relationships, sex can strengthen emotional intimacy. It becomes another way of communicating trust, affection, and commitment without saying a single word. That emotional connection can increase relationship satisfaction for many couples. But here's something that's just as important. Sex isn't the only way to build those feelings. Simple things like hugging, holding hands, cuddling, laughing together, and spending quality time also trigger the release of oxytocin. In other words, your brain has multiple ways to create emotional bonds. This brings us to another common myth. People often assume that if someone isn't sexually active, they'll automatically become unhealthy, unhappy, or emotionally unstable. That's simply not supported by science. Many people live fulfilling, healthy lives without having sex. Some choose celibacy because of religious beliefs, some simply aren't interested. Others identify as asexual and experience little or no sexual attraction at all. These individuals are not broken. They're simply experiencing one of the many natural variations in human sexuality. As long as someone's emotional and physical needs are being met in other ways, a lack of sexual activity does not automatically mean poor health. This is an important distinction. The body may desire sex because of biology, but that doesn't mean every person experiences that desire in the same way or to the same degree. Human beings are far more complex than simple instincts. We make decisions based on culture, personal values, relationships, goals, and individual preferences. Biology may influence us. It doesn't completely control us, and that's one of the things that makes humans unique. Most animals follow instinct almost automatically. Humans can choose whether to act on those instincts or not. That ability to think beyond biology has shaped civilizations, cultures, religions, and entire societies, which raises an even bigger question. If evolution designed sex mainly for reproduction, why do humans continue to want it even when having children isn't part of the plan? The answer lies in one of the most fascinating features of the human brain. Here's where humans become truly unusual. For most animals, sex has one main purpose: reproduction. Many species only mate during a specific breeding season. Once that season ends, sexual interest almost disappears until the next year. Their hormones are closely tied to fertility. Humans are different. We can experience sexual desire throughout the year, regardless of whether reproduction is even possible. That has led scientists to believe that, in our species, sex evolved to serve another important purpose alongside reproduction: strengthening social bonds. Think about how long it takes to raise a human child. Compared to most animals, it's an incredibly long commitment. Children depend on adults for years before they can fully care for themselves. In the past, two parents or even larger family groups often had a better chance of helping children survive. If intimacy encouraged couples to stay emotionally connected, that could have increased the chances of raising healthy offspring. In other words, sex wasn't just helping create children, it was helping keep families together. But evolution isn't the only thing influencing our behavior. Culture plays a huge role too. Around the world, different societies have very different beliefs about sex. Some treat it as something deeply private, others are more open in discussing it. Religious traditions, personal values, and family upbringing all shape how people think about intimacy. That means two people can have the exact same biology but completely different attitudes towards sex, and that's perfectly normal. Our brains are constantly balancing instinct with personal choice. This is also why attraction is so complicated. People often assume attraction is based only on physical appearance. In reality, your brain is processing far more information than you realize. Confidence, humor, kindness, shared interests, body language, voice, scent, and even familiarity can all influence attraction. The brain combines countless signals before creating that feeling we simply call chemistry. Scientists still don't fully understand every detail of how attraction works. It's one of the most complex behaviors humans have. Then there's another interesting question. Why does sexual desire change over time? The answer is that your brain and body are constantly responding to your environment. Stress, poor sleep, anxiety, depression, certain medications, hormone levels, age, physical health, and relationship satisfaction can all increase or decrease libido. That's why there is no such thing as a normal level of sexual desire that applies to everyone. Some people naturally have a high sex drive, others have a low one. Both can be completely healthy. What's important is whether it matches the person's own well-being, and if they're in a relationship, whether both partners communicate openly and respect each other's needs. One of the biggest myths is that real men always want sex or that women naturally want it less. Reality is far more complicated. Sexual desire varies enormously from one individual to another, regardless of gender. Personality, hormones, mental health, life circumstances, and relationship quality all play a role. In other words, there isn't a universal rule that fits everyone. The human brain simply isn't that predictable. And perhaps the biggest surprise of all is this. One of the strongest biological drives in the human body isn't controlled by the body alone. It's controlled by the mind. Your thoughts, emotions, memories, and experiences can all influence desire just as much as hormones can. That's something very few other animals can do. Humans don't just experience biology. We interpret it. And that makes all the difference. So after everything we've learned, let's go back to the original question. Does the human body actually need sex? The answer is both yes and no. If we're talking about survival, the answer is no. Your body doesn't require sex the way it requires food, water, sleep, or oxygen. A person can live a long, healthy, and fulfilling life without ever having sex. But if we're talking about biology, the answer becomes a little more complicated. Your body has been shaped by millions of years of evolution to want sex because without that desire, our species wouldn't have survived. That's why your brain rewards intimacy with powerful chemicals like dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. They're not there by accident. They're part of an ancient system designed to encourage behaviors that once helped humans thrive. At the same time, humans aren't slaves to biology. Unlike most animals, we have the ability to make choices that go beyond instinct. We can decide when, whether, or with whom to have sex based on our values, beliefs, goals, relationships, or personal preferences. That's one of the defining features of being human. And it's also why there's no single correct lifestyle that fits everyone. For some people, sex is an important part of a healthy relationship and emotional connection. For others, close friendships, family bonds, hobbies, or personal purpose provide the same sense of fulfillment without sexual activity. The key isn't simply whether someone has sex, it's whether they're living in a way that's healthy, respectful, and right for them. In the end, the human body doesn't need sex to keep one person alive. It needs the desire for sex to help keep the human species alive, and that's an important difference. What feels like a deeply personal emotion is actually the result of millions of years of evolution, biology, and the incredible complexity of the human brain. The next time you hear someone say that humans need sex, you'll know the answer isn't as simple as yes or no. Our bodies are built to desire it, our minds are capable of understanding it, and our choices are what ultimately define us. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more fascinating science and biology explained in a simple way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.